What is going on YouTube? Lamont at large. Today I'm walking the grounds of Burr Oak Cemetery here in Alsip, Illinois. We are about, I would say 15 minutes right outside of Chicago. And I wanted to talk about a scandal that rocked this place about a dozen years ago. So in July of 2009, people waking up in the morning to go to work, turn on the news, and they see that there's a bunch of crime scene investigators here at the cemetery, and there are talks of improprieties occurring at this very cemetery. Well, what were those improprieties? Well, it appears that the manager of this place, along with a supervisor and a couple backhoe operators, were basically digging up bodies of people that had died a long time ago and reselling plots. Originally, when this place was founded, they purchased about 40 acres or so. And the cemetery was, made, predominantly for black people. And when they gridded this place, it was originally designed to hold about 130,000 graves or so. But after doing a forensic examination of the paperwork, they found that there was about 40,000 up to 147,000 bodies here. So this place is over at least about 10,000 bodies. So how do you bury 147,000 people in a place that's only designed for 130,000? Well, when you start running out of room and you have nowhere to go, the only direction you can go is down, and that's what they did. So there was a scheme between Carolyn Towns, Keith Nix, and his brother Terrence Nix with Maurice Daly, the backhoe operator. This is what they were going to do. They would go to graves where, people died, back in the 20s and even the teens, because they're looking for graves and re-digging them up. People's families aren't going to come after a certain amount of decades. Nobody's coming to visit your grave. It's usually around 50 or 60 years. That's it. And so they would re-dig up the graves, and they didn't even do it with any kind of care. No, they would come with a backhoe and just go ahead and just start digging. And they would start digging, and they would take all of the remains and dump them right over there in that field, way across yonder. And they did that for years. And you want to say that they would have gotten away with it, except they got really sloppy. I mean, they didn't even care. I mean, you see something like this would be full of human remains, and they just throw it there. Who cares? They didn't care. And I believe the cemetery owner somehow found out what they were doing and contacted the authorities. And that's when the arrests came, the indictments came, and people are then coming to the cemetery asking where their loved ones are. And the cemetery here was closed for about 3 months while they handled the investigation. I mean, families are upset. There's a big pile of dirt with human skulls and teeth and what have you. This place is the burial site for, I've been to the cemetery a couple times already. Emmett Till is buried here along with his mother, but there's some other notable people here. Dinah Washington, she's known as the Queen of Blues. She's buried here. Frank Reed, he's the lead singer of the Shy Lights. Inman Jackson, he played for the Globetrotters back in the day. And one man by the name of Blind Leroy Garnett. He was a pianist. If you asked blind Leroy's friends, hey, what does blind Leroy do? They would say, well, he's a excellent pianist, he's blind, and he's unemployed. That was a big thing back in those days, to let people know, yeah, this guy does not work. But his work, his craft was cranking that piano. And I always find it fascinating that somebody that's totally blind, and it wasn't partial blindness, no, he was totally blind. And I found it amazing that a piano could be played, him and, you know, like Ray Charles and stuff. It's absolutely amazing. Stevie Wonder, of course, too. So you have this big scandal. This cemetery was closed for about, I say, 3 months. Eventually, through a settlement with the insurance company, I want to say they offered the family like a ridiculous amount of money per grave if they could show records that their family members were actually buried out here. And they could only guess that possibly they have proof through the records that 200 graves were redug up. Now, when they went to this big pile of human remains and were going through it, I mean, this was a very painstaking process, because some of these burials occurred almost 100 years ago. And when you get skeletal remains from that long ago, sometimes they break down really quickly. And, you know, you find a femur bone here and you find a lower leg bone there, but you don't know if it came from the same body. You don't know if animals have came and just dragged them. You don't know if they just disintegrated. I mean, you don't know. You don't know possibly what else they did with the other remains. I mean, they could have taken the bones and, I mean, literally they could have just threw them in a crematory and that would have been it at the end of the day. I also come to find out that in 2005, Emmett Till was disinterred and he was placed in a new casket. Now, you would think you would take the old casket and it would be some kind of a museum piece, which it is currently right now. I believe it's in the Smithsonian Institute in Washington. Don't quote me on that, but I do know definitely it is in a museum. And no, they took the casket of Emmett Till, a very famous murder victim, and they placed it behind a shed. Amazing. I mean, that goes to show you the level of disrespect that this place has. And, you know, I'm very surprised that, because this place it's very well known. When I was here last time, when I vlogged the Emmett Till grave, I did not know that this scandal was at this cemetery. I thought it was at another Illinois cemetery that I was outside of Chicago. If I would have known, I would have done the video. But by the time I left the area, that's when I realized, okay, and you know, I said, well, I always come back, you know what I mean? So yeah, just a quick video to, you know, talk about this case. Now, the records show that they found at least 38 different bodies, but of course, over 200 graves or so were disinterred. So, I mean, they were unable to identify unequivocally if it was, you know, different bodies. You know, like I said, you have one bone from one part of the body. It could be the other body. There's no way that we could do any kind of DNA testing. So you're probably wondering, to conclude the video, well, what happened to the people that were in on this scheme? Well, Keith Nix, he was vehemently saying that he was innocent. He even went on a local news station to claim that he was innocent. Well, he wasn't so innocent, because he ended up being convicted and he got sentenced to 6 years in prison. His brother, Terrence Nix, he got sentenced to 3 years. However, his conviction after he served his time was thrown out. I don't know if he thinks that he can try to sue the state of Illinois for wrongful imprisonment, he may not want to do that because they can go ahead and refile charges if they felt like it. They can come with a better indictment. The only problem was that the indictment, a judge determined that it just seemed too vague, whatever that means. And Carolyn Towns, what happened to Carolyn Towns? I guess you can consider her the ringleader, the mastermind. She ended up getting a 12-year prison sentence. I don't know how many years she actually served, but I'm going to imagine if she did not have any kind of a record, and you know, she kept her nose clean before, and like, oh hey, I just made a mistake, I'm gonna assume that she probably did half of the time in prison, and then she got parole as soon as she was up for it. So anyways, guys, rest in peace to all of those that were affected by this disastrous scandal. And you know, I'm still surprised that people are burying their loved ones here. I have no idea. I don't even know how they have room to bury people, but as you can see, that patch of land over there, and you got land over there, there's only so much land you can take before you just run out of room. And it looks like this cemetery is just about out of room. I think that is it. So this place might be closed for new burials unless they buy another swath of land and open up shop again. Anyways, guys, Lamont at large, coming to you from the Burr Oak Cemetery in Alsip, Illinois. I'll catch up with y'all later. Have a good day, guys. Peace out.